What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you are feeling extra spicy, like some of you are just recently, and I cannot believe that every day there's like 2, 3, 4 members, and I'm just blown away by the level of support from you guys. And I keep seeing people saying, stop saying thank you, stop saying thank you. I cannot stop saying thank you. How can you not appreciate this? I refuse. I will keep saying thank you, and that's it. Anyway, we did have some new members yesterday. We had Bruce Reed, Mackenzie A. We also had Uga. That was on Patreon. Then on YouTube, we had Luna Light, Teresa Felber, Army of Freaks, Upgrading, and D's Vids. Thank you so much. Also Upgrading. Just incredible stuff from each and every one of you for taking the times out of your day to be here. You are literally changing things for me. And just thank you. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for calling the police on my daughter's fiancé? I'm a single dad of 2 girls, Megan 23 and Zoe 17. I'm doing well financially. Note, I'm not rich. In fact, I raised my girls under tough circumstances, but I made sure they had everything they needed. Megan is engaged. They've been saving for the wedding for months now. They're struggling. I got Megan a car when she was 18 that she hasn't been able to fix because of rent, saving for wedding, daily expenses, etc. I understand that cheap cars require constant maintenance, but it was a great gift for her, especially since she wanted to be independent. Zoe's 18th birthday is next month. I got her a Hyundai that cost me $5,000. It runs perfectly. This is the first car Zoe owns. She has no experience in driving, so I wanted to get her a car with less issues. Zoe likes it and can't wait to drive it. The key will be handed to her on her 18th birthday. It's been in the garage for 2 months now. It sure needs cleaning, but it will be good as new. Days ago, Megan's fiance started complaining about needing a car since Megan's car can no longer run. He said that he was tired of using public transportation to go places like the hospital and school, and said that they're literally broke because public transportation is expensive. He asked if he could borrow the Hyundai we have in the garage, but I told him no, this is a gift and cannot be given to anybody. I offered to lend him $100, but he refused, saying he would never take money from me. 2 days ago, I returned from work. Zoe was looking upset and worried. I asked what was going on, and she told me Megan's fiance came and took her car, the Hyundai. I asked her when, and she said that was at 10 AM. So he was gone for almost 10 hours. She told me he found the keys in my office and got the car out the garage. She told him not to take it, but he took it. I was mad. I called him. He didn't answer. I called Megan. She was out with friends. I told her fiance took her sister's car and wasn't answering the phone. Told her he should have never touched it and that I'd call one more time, then go to the police. She said I was overreacting. He'll return it later. I got fed up at 7 PM. I called the police and reported the car stolen. He got picked up at 9 and was taken to the station. Megan came home, yelling at me, telling me that I just caused her fiancé to spend the night in jail and that they already took permission from Zoe, but Zoe denied it. I argued with her that I already told him no. Doesn't matter if they took permission. I'm the one who's responsible for the car, it's not Zoe's yet. I talked to the officers and he got released in the morning. Megan didn't stop calling me an arsehole, saying that I overreacted completely, ignoring that this is her sister's gift he took. He wants an apology from me, but I refuse to have them come to my house after this. I could tell Zoe felt worried and upset and clearly couldn't deal with Megan's fiance's behaviour. As a parent, I had to do something, even if this upsets Megan. Now, we had a similar story a month or so ago about someone taking a car without permission and then, thinking they can get away with it. And I think it was the daughter in this case called the police and they got taken away. And then the whole family was against her. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. But the same in this situation. He stole your property, refuses to answer his phone. So he's just being an arse. And he knows exactly what he's doing. And why did he think he's going to get away with it in the end? Got absolutely what he deserved in this situation. Not the arsehole. But Pugrexia says, not the arsehole. He ignored your words, went into your home, went into your office, took the keys, ignored your daughter and stole the car from your garage. He then took it for the entire day and didn't respond to your calls. You had every right to call the cops. Don't let them try to pretend like you're wrong here. And Altman Kappa says, not the arsehole, but keep an eye out. They might start unfairly pressing Zoe. She's young and it can be hard to say no to pestering old relatives. And Loch Ness Runner says, not the arsehole, it's your property until you hand it to your daughter, and then it's still technically partially yours. If you denied it, he had no right to take the vehicle. It sucks to be an adult sometimes and learns consequences to actions. I think you did the right thing and took justified action. You even told your daughter what you would do if you couldn't get a hold of him. She was trying to call you on your bluff when you weren't bluffing. And These Coat says, not the arsehole, he stole your car. I'm also wondering if it's even insured yet. What would have happened if he had a wreck? Again, not the arsehole. And Here for Nostalgia says, not the arsehole, he took the vehicle without permission after being explicitly told no. Both your eldest and her fiancé felt they had the right to do it anyways. Serves him right that he spent the night in jail. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you think of this situation and how would you have dealt with it? Would you have called the cops in that situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Inside Bat 2208. Am I the arsehole for hiding my girlfriend's sentimental forks? My girlfriend, who I moved in with last year, received some cutlery when her auntie passed away the other year. It isn't particularly nice or valuable, but she likes it for sentimental reasons. I hate eating with these forks as the tangs are too close together and it really minimises the amount of food I can eat in one forkful. I began hiding the forks in my work van, one every 3 or 4 weeks until they were all hidden. I claimed ignorance and that seemed to be going pretty well. Anyway, a couple of months passed by with me enjoying having properly sized eating implements when I gave her a lift in my van to work. Then on Monday she opened the glove box and found all the forks. She is quite upset due to the emotional nature of the forks and also that I would be dishonest about something so small. The forks are back in the regular rotation now and I can feel the resentment growing and growing whenever I fetch a properly sized fork to eat my dinner with, when she has knowingly set out a tiny fork to eat my dinner with. So Reddit, am I the arsehole for hiding my girlfriend's tiny forks? Absolutely, you're the arsehole. This could so simply be solved by saying, honey, I want to use a different fork because this one just doesn't suit me very well. Next time if you're setting the table, could you please just put a different fork down because I don't want to use one of those. It can be solved that simply. I mean, if she gets really angry about it, then there's other issues at play here. This is ridiculous. Absolutely, you're the arsehole in this situation. Hiding something that's sentimental to someone, insane. But Miley30 says, what's up with all these recent stories of men who decide they don't like something their SO is doing or has in the house, so they just decide on their own to get rid of it? Of course you're the arsehole. If you want a different fork, use your words to ask for one, or better yet, go and get another one out of the drawer. And Lively Sally says, you're the arsehole, stealing and lying and being ridiculously immature. You resent her for having to grab yourself a fork. Is compromise a foreign word for you? You could have avoided all that by getting and eating with your own forks. And Sid says, you're the arsehole, and yes, it is quite childish. Just tell her that you need bigger forks for your big mouth, especially since it's recently got bigger due to you sticking your foot in it. And Chair Relative says, you're the arsehole. Why? Honestly, just why? You're an adult. You could have just told her you prefer to eat with a normal fork or brought her a display to put them in. What you did instead was the most childish thing you could have done without straight up throwing them away. You should apologise and still go buy her a display for them. Now, what do you think of this one? This is a ridiculous one. Obviously, it's going to be a you're the arsehole. I can't see any other reason why it wouldn't be, right? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for leaving my parents' house early? We're supposed to stay for a month because my siblings wouldn't give me privacy when I was working with sensitive information. I hadn't seen my family for a year for obvious reasons, but I decided to come home for the holidays. Since the whole family would be isolating for 2 weeks prior, and during my visit it seemed worthwhile to stay for a longer time to make it worth it. So the plan was to visit without working for the holidays then. I'd stay working from home for an additional 3 weeks. My family is my parents, my siblings, 13-year-old boy, 11-year-old girl, and I. I told my family I'd need a private room to work from. This was important because I work with sensitive data. I don't want to get into details of my job, but I can give you a few examples of similarly sensitive topics to give you an idea. Something along the lines of a medical professional for high-profile clients on sensitive health issues, where they absolutely do not want a word getting out that they are getting that treatment. Or a witness protection program organizer for people in very high-profile cases, where the people in witness protection would be in danger if any details got out. Basically, a job where I'm not just bound by the ethical standards of my profession, which are essentially on their own, but also there is added pressure because the clients I work with are very high profile. And after the holidays, I started working from home from my dad's study. It seemed like my siblings were acting weird, like they were keeping some secret. 2 days into being back to work, I got up to use the bathroom and caught my siblings snooping at the closed door. Listen to what I was doing on my previous call. I blew up at them and said they were too old for this shit, they're not 6-year-olds playing spies. In this argument they admitted they'd been listening for the last few days. I went back to work and sent the emails I needed to report an info leak. I know that sounds like an overkill, but that's the policy at the job, to report it no matter what and let the management decide the seriousness and the next steps. It was definitely stressful to have to write. My manager said it wasn't that serious as they were just kids, but going forward I need to find a secure place to work. I told my parents that I had to leave because I needed a private workspace and my siblings had been listening at the door. They were upset at me for leaving so much sooner than we'd planned, after they went through the effort to totally quarantine for weeks on end to prepare. I said that I was sorry but I needed my job and that I told the family that I'd need a private workspace to be able to work from their house, and they hadn't really taken that seriously. They saw my siblings sneaking around at the door and didn't bother asking them to stop or telling me. Am I the arsehole for leaving my family's house early? You know, we saw a story very much like this months and months and months back. I can't remember how many months ago. I mean, we're talking middle of last year, I think, at this stage. But where this person also had high-profile clients, and if information got out, they could potentially get sued or the company get sued for that. Because let's just say it was a famous celebrity or something like that one of these nephews in this story knew. You know, many kids these days, not all I'm going to say, but are on social media, and say they went straight on social media and said, oh, this person has this, and somehow it went viral and caused a big stir. And they're paying people like OP to specifically not let that information get out. You know, they're going to get sued into the ground, I imagine. So, not the arsehole in this case. You made it clear from the very start your needs and your requirements to be staying there, and they just weren't met. So you had to do that to protect your job. So you can't be the arsehole in this situation, I think. But let's take a look at some of the comments to see what they say. We had Goth Penguin saying, not the arsehole, even if your siblings didn't quite grasp the importance of your privacy while working or why eavesdropping is wrong, your parents knew what was going on and didn't stop them. You did what you had to do. And Sleepy Dink says, not the arsehole, don't put your job in jeopardy because your family doesn't want to give you privacy. Followed by Phantom saying, not the arsehole, that was sensitive information and they broke the rules. You know what you had to do and protected your job the correct way. You know the rules and so do I. And Glock TV says, not the arsehole, in a similar field where confidentiality is of the utmost importance. Though your siblings are young, they're old enough to understand privacy, and your parents should be at the very least sitting them down for a chat, so they might understand how important it is for you to have your space. And Let's Do It says, not the arsehole, you were clear in your requirement to work, which is part of your visit. It's putting your job at risk, so of course you need to leave early. And iDrow says, not the arsehole. If they'd do that, they'd absolutely try and sneak onto your computer and post all over social media what they found. Guess who my sister/brother is doing X for? With screenshots and everything. Most kids with little parental oversight have no respect for boundaries or privacy as long as there's the potential for internet attention for themselves. If your parents won't teach your siblings about respecting privacy, then you have to do what's best for you. And OP does reply in the end saying, yeah, like worst case could be like if they started gossiping, especially online, like, oh my god, big sister called famous person today. And that gets connected to the fact that I work in a sensitive business. Let's say rehab as an example, though that's not it, and it blows up online. It's especially tough because minors can't enter in an enforceable NDA, and one of the big ways my company deals with data leaks is by asking people to sign an NDA, including offering a cash incentive. Luckily, the cases I was dealing with weren't involving anyone teens and preteens would find very exciting. Also, I always lock my computer when I get up, even to pee or make a coffee, and it encrypts itself when locked. Plus, I lock up my papers at the same time, so there's nothing that they saw, which is probably the best way around it. And that's the word, that's what I was looking for, NDA. I knew it was, is it non-disclosure agreement? Something like that. But yes, what do you guys think of this situation? Do you think that OP went overkill the way they phoned their company to let them know about the data leak? Or do you think they was doing the right thing the whole way through this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from Hey and La. Am I the arsehole for telling my wife she needs to go to therapy to become the mum our kids deserve? My wife had a crappy childhood. Her mum wasn't great, in and out of prison. She had to raise her little siblings, so with our own kids, I know she overcompensates so our girls can have the childhood she didn't. The issue is, she can't see that our daughters might not want the same things she did as a kid. She put them in dance and one loves it, the other hates it, but my wife made her do it until COVID hit and the studio closed. When I tried to talk her down, she said that she'd learn to love it. Our oldest, 6, has severe anxiety. She's actually in therapy for it. As a result, she hates crowds. We had her birthday last January and she spent it huddled in a corner and cried through "Happy Birthday" after begging my wife not to make people sing. My wife shrugged it off and said it's part of the experience. This year, we can't do a big party for obvious reasons, but my wife wanted to do a thing where everyone drove up to say hi, decorated their cars and sang. Oldest said no. My wife then tried to push. My daughter said she won't leave her room if they come over. My wife was upset and hurt. She told me she wants to give them the childhood she didn't have. I said that's nice, but our girls do have a childhood. They're not raising each other. Neither of us are in prison and we're stable. I said that she needs to let them have the childhood they want. That includes activities, toys. Our youngest is a tomboy and that's led to issues. What they wear, etc. She started arguing and I said she does all of this for herself, not them. I clarified she's not her mum, but she's not being a great one by doing this and told her she needs therapy to be the mum they deserve. Now my wife isn't talking to me. I wonder if I overstepped. Am I the arsehole? The paragraph that really jumped out for me was the one that said, our oldest 6 has severe anxiety. She's actually in therapy for it. As a result, she hates crowds. We had her birthday last January and she spent it huddled in a corner and cried through "Happy Birthday" after begging my wife not to make people sing. My wife shrugged it off and said it's part of the experience. And knowing your daughter has severe anxiety and already gone through therapy for it, it's virgin. And I'm hoping I'm not overstepping myself by saying this. It sounds very, very abusive the way that's happening. The way I'm picturing it in my head anyway. And I think it's just one of these situations where you need to be cruel to be kind to get it across, because what other way is there? I mean, as a dad, as a parent yourself, you needed to step up and say something, because you can't let this continue, because it may get worse and it's not fair on the children. But Mandir Man says, not the arsehole, her mum was the reason your wife and her siblings didn't have a great childhood, but she seems like she's overbearing, which can be just as negative. You're not overstepping, those are your kids too, and you have a say in their upbringing. She needs to work through her trauma before her kids get older and want nothing to do with her. And Mahal says, I hope we got your name right, not the arsehole. I'm gently going to say your wife is probably not trying to be callous or hurtful to your children, but she's overcompensating for her poor childhood, growing up with her own ideas of what happy and normal looks like. Let me be clear, she is being those things in her efforts. She is hurting them by not letting them have a choice. I applaud you for recognizing this, and I hope you can persuade her to do therapy or even offer to do it with her to help her not feel further alienated. Hope it all works out. Best of luck, sir. I'm editing to also clarify that overcompensation is not necessarily a good implication. It can have negative overtones in her aggressive willfulness to push her lost and her foregone childhood onto her children. And DVLT says, not the arsehole, my mum also had a crappy childhood and resolved to do better. I have PTSD, so clearly she did not. It might be harsh to tell your wife that she's being a bad parent, but she absolutely needs to hear it, because this shit will have negative effects on your children. If left unchecked, it will lead to more disastrous outcomes as your kids get older and have more and more autonomy. What will she do if your daughters want to major in something she doesn't like when they go to college, or want to get a job to have independence, or are LGBT? Will she stop them? There are many parents like this who do in fact try to stop their kids from having independence when they grow up. It's a very real possibility. My mother ignored my chronic pain for years because she didn't want to acknowledge that I'm not a perfectly healthy child she wanted. I'm 20 and I might need knee surgery, which of course she doesn't want me to get. I was deeply suicidal from ages 11 to 18 and she ignored it because she didn't want to deal with the fact that I wasn't what she expected. I could have died. Of course my experiences are more on the extreme side of the spectrum, but my mother was nowhere near as controlling as your wife when I was 6. So you're right to be worried and you're right to call her out on her awful behaviour. Harshness is acceptable in this situation. And Fervidus Thepsis says, not the arsehole, her overcompensating things like the birthday party can be taken as abusive. Your daughter has anxiety and cried, and your wife said it's part of the experience. No, it's not. It's showing your daughter her feelings don't matter. That's more damaging than anything. She needs to listen to her kids and what they want and don't want, and she needs to respect it or they're going to have awful childhoods as well. Therapy is definitely needed here. I had an awful childhood myself and never wanted to become my mother, but I went to therapy and got a handle on my own emotions and feelings so I could be a better parent to my children. She might be pissed at you for suggesting it, but she needs it. Otherwise, your oldest might start resenting her and their relationship will get ruined beyond repair. Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you think of the situation and how would you deal with it if you was OP? Do you think he went too far with his comments or not far enough? Or was he totally the arsehole? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today and taking the time out of your day to be here. I know I tell you all the time, but it's so appreciated. And I cannot believe people are still listening to these stories so far on. I mean, it was since we started covering these stories, I think it must have been in like the middle of last year, and it's absolutely amazing for you to still be doing so, to listening in and seeing the same names commenting daily and getting involved with the channel. As I said in a couple of videos ago, I know I haven't been the most active in the comments just recently. I'm trying to still be involved in them. I do read them all and get involved when I can, but January is a hugely busy time for my real work, and you know, with the transition to part-time YouTube, I've got a lot of paperwork to catch up on and things like that, and paperwork with my dad as well seems to be flying in at me at the moment. So do forgive me for not being involved. I am reading your comments, and you know, if you see that little heart pop up, it does mean that, you know, I am reading away and I do love it. So thank you so much for still being involved in supporting the channel by joining and just watching. It really is incredible. Thank you so much for doing you. You are amazing. Do not forget that. Please don't forget that, because you mean the world to me. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys. Take care now. Goodbye.